last year. The National Farmers Union say compensation is desperately required to save the industry from catastrophe. The government insists they are committed to the industry, but say farmers must adapt or risk long-term ruin.
More than 3,000 farmers marched down Edinburgh's Princes Street to register their protest at the crisis facing their industry. They claim falling beef prices, the strength of the pound and cheap imports from abroad are pushing them toward catastrophe.
200,000 jobs are at stake, it's as simple as that. The whole rural economy is at stake. I don't think that's anything that government would wish to contemplate throwing that away. They are in charge of the rural economy whether they like it or not. It is a politically controlled industry and it's up to the Minister to take action to safeguard that industry.
That anger toward the government was reflected among the marchers.
The government has everything got stacked against us. They're not giving us a fair chance to compete with other farmers in Europe, which we deserve.
Well, if there's no future, no profitability, we can't sustain our future.
Earlier, Labour's John Hume Robertson, himself a farmer, was barracked as he attempted to justify the government's case at a mass rally.
It might have been possible to get more if it hadn't been certain events at Holyhead, Fishguard and Stranraer.
The day of protest ended when a 30,000 signature petition was handed in to the Scottish Secretary, but he could offer little in the way of concrete assistance for the farmers.
We see a future, and a very important future, for the agricultural industry in Scotland. There is a crisis at the moment with falling incomes and a very strong green pound. We put our hands in our pockets to the tune of £85 million nationally, of which very nearly 30% will go to Scottish hill farmers, sheep and cattlemen. And that is a very substantial recognition of the difficulties.
A meeting is planned between farmers' leaders and Agriculture Minister Lord Sewell on Monday.
One Highland farmer, Grant Ferguson, who works a farm near Bewley, has spoken to North Tonight about the problems facing him and the many thousands like him. He says he would never have believed the situation could have got so serious and would actually end with him taking part in public demonstrations.
Breakfast was served a little earlier than usual at Belladrum Farm on the outskirts of Inverness. Grant Ferguson was one of the 250 Highland farmers anxious to get off to Edinburgh for the Keep Scotland Farming rally. He says the government must be made to understand the depth of the crisis.
We've been managing over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, the officials tell us they've been good years, and we've been managing to turn in a small profit after all our expenses are off, and nothing great, you know, we're making a living, but I would think we could be looking at a loss of 10 to 15,000 this year.
He says the strong pound is compounding farmers' problems at the moment, and low prices are not just confined to cows. These little chaps aren't bringing in the money either.
The sheep crisis is equally bad this year. I'm selling lamb this week in Dingwall. It's almost half what we're getting last year. If you'd said to me 6 months ago that I would be on a picket line at Stranraer or a demonstration in Edinburgh, I would have laughed at you. But it's got that serious, it really has.
He was in good company. Farmers, crofters and their supporters from as far as Skye, Easter Ross, the Black Island, Moray gathered in Inverness for the specially chartered train to take them to the capital. It's just before 6:45 in the morning now, and already over 200 farmers from the Highlands have boarded this train to head for Edinburgh for the demonstration. On board there was clear anger at Lord Sewell's criticism earlier in the week that farmers were too dependent on subsidies, especially when the farmers argue they're not helping them compete in the marketplace.
We didn't create the subsidy culture. It's the government's provided the subsidies to gain control of agriculture, and they control what we farm and how we farm, and now they're trying to step back from paying for what they've asked for.
I think the same standards that are being applied to us should be applied to all imported beef, and something should be done about the currency, because I feel that we can't be international currency fund traders and fight against the currency as well as the BSE problem.
But if their pleas are ignored and compensation as well as action is not forthcoming, the farmers say decreasing income and larger overdrafts will mean serious doubts about just how much longer they can keep Scotland farming.